Carly Bridges takes up a job as a choir director in a small town during the holidays. As she gets to know Matthew Wheeler, who is back to his hometown after serving in the army, things start getting better. As a music teacher, Carly passionately guides her students to find their voice. Mrs. Richards, who has been practicing for 6 months, is excited to surprise her son with the guitar at their Christmas party. Carly won't be in Philadelphia for the holidays, since she has taken up a job to help a choir prepare for their Christmas Eve services in Waterford Creek. She knows getting out of there is exactly what she needs. Outside the bus for Waterford Creek, Carly and Matthew Wheeler prepare for their journey, unaware of each other. As Carly takes out a book to read, Matthew adjusts his bags. She's busy working on her notes when he shows an elderly lady next to him pictures of his family tree for Christmas. He falls asleep reading the same book Carly had. When the elderly lady wakes him up, he comes across the Carly's special pic, which she has dropped. He decides to keep it with himself, and despite being in the same place, they don't notice each other. Matthew gets a warm welcome from his younger sister Riley and his mother Diane. Carly is greeted by an empty house, but she's happy to see a record player. Susan Shepard and her husband Pastor John from Waterford Creek Church are excited to meet Carly, even if Susan seems nervous about turning up there too early. They have spoken on the phone earlier, and she is happy to see them in person. Susan offers to get her anything she needs for the house, and they've brought her famous chicken pot pie to celebrate Carly's arrival. She invites them in and shares that her mother was a music teacher too. John praises Susan's voice and shares that she's a member of the choir. The choir usually performs 3 songs on Christmas Eve, which Carly can choose, and they also have a Sunday service the next day so she can see the choir in action. Matthew has placed his favorite star on the tree, and Diane informs him about hosting the town's Christmas Eve party this year, for which he'll need to help out. Riley is excited about finally joining the choir, which Matthew thinks is very important for her voice to be recognized. Diane discusses their new choir director, who must have been on the same bus he took. He feels like if he knew earlier, he would have spent the whole trip praising Riley to her. He's planning to stay in town this time, and has already spoken to Dan Turner about a job at the fire station. Diane knows him coming back home is the best Christmas gift she could have asked for. Carly realizes she has lost her special pick and searches for it everywhere. Matthew heads into Susan's shop to meet Susan and John's daughter Jenny, who is his childhood friend. She can't believe it's been 5 years since he left, and she's excited about him moving back to town permanently. He has also arranged for a place to stay there, where he'll shift after the holidays. At the Sunday service, Pastor John gives a sermon and invites the choir to perform. They seem very nervous, and when they start singing, Carly notices how bad they are since they have no coordination and are completely off-key. She still tries to be polite as she approaches John to understand his expectations from her. John knows the choir isn't what it used to be, but he feels like they make up for it in their enthusiasm. He shows her pictures of the choir from generations ago in his office, including one with Susan before they met. John knows she has a beautiful voice and wants Carly to understand how good the choir once was, since they had people coming from neighboring countries to see them. But they have been struggling for the past few years since their former choir director, Miss Jane, moved away with some strong vocalists. When they saw Carly's post online, they felt like she inspired them and might be the perfect person to help rebuild their choir. She still doesn't think she's a miracle worker, and 2 weeks isn't enough time. But John just wants her to remember that everything is possible at Christmas, and hopes she will guide the choir to the best of her abilities. Riley swears the choir sounded better than the previous week, so Matthew thinks they should celebrate with eggnog pancakes at the orchard. Since Diane has left her purse inside, he offers to get it. While he's distracted, he bumps into Carly and they both start apologizing. They wonder if they have met before, but Jenny joins them to introduce Carly to him properly. Carly notices a vibe between Matthew and Jenny, and after greeting him politely, they go their separate ways. She meets the choir on a positive note, but they already know they're terrible and ask if she can help them. She just wants them to focus on singing together since they're currently going in different directions. As an icebreaker to get to know them, she asks everyone for their names and their reason for joining the choir. She introduces herself as someone who has been playing the guitar her whole life and asks them to start. She learns that Susan has joined the choir to feel close to the community, while Jenny thinks that being Susan's daughter is reason enough for her to be there. Tyler is there since his mom wants him to be a part of team activities, and he hates the only other alternative, which is ice hockey. Alice is the most enthusiastic as she takes the stage to introduce herself, as a mother of 2 children who loves Christmas, and all the bling it brings. George is unwilling to share anything more than his name, but Riley reveals that she joined recently since she likes to sing. Satisfied with their answers, Carly asks them to take their places in their sections. But there's a lot of confusion, since they don't know their place in the group. George is in a hurry to leave when the rehearsal is over, and Jenny advises Carly to let him keep his distance. John is stressed about finding some inspiration for his Christmas Eve sermon. When he asks about Carly's first day, Susan thinks she's professional and bright, and reminds her of someone special. John wants to get a Christmas tree for her, but Susan has already arranged it and sent in the expert. While scouting for the tree, Matthew sings for the kids, but stops when he spots Carly. She thinks he has a beautiful voice and asks him to join the choir. He does have experience, but thinks his choir days are over. He informs her about Susan sending him as an expert to pick up a tree for her. He also needs evergreen branches so his mom can make Christmas wreaths. She wonders if he was planning to sneak the tree into her house, but he knows he would have used the doorbell. When she notices how close he is with the Shepherds, he explains that he has grown up with Jenny, and they have been friends since preschool. There's no romantic history between them, but she knows he has feelings for Jenny. He hasn't told her yet since it was never the right time. He didn't want to do it when he joined the army, but he felt there was a moment before he left, which was a long time ago. They find the perfect tree which can also hold her angel on top. But she's still desperate for a tenor and begs him to reconsider joining the choir. He brings the tree to her house, and she also finds ornaments to decorate it. When he notices the snow globe she brought with her, she informs him about it being a gift from her mother, who called her Little Songbird. Her mother passed away in June, and she took this job since she doesn't have anyone to spend Christmas with. Even her dad left her when she was 1 since he wasn't ready to be a father. She has made her peace with it, but has no family after her mother. Matthew reminds her that family can be chosen too, and thinks the men he served with are nothing less than brothers. At their next rehearsal, Matthew also joins them, and she happily introduces him as their new tenor. They're still very bad and lack coordination, so Carly asks them to practice their parts at home. After evaluating their individual strengths, she has also chosen Riley to do the solo that year. Riley is grateful but wonders if Carly can give the solo to someone else, since she's not ready to sing in front of so many people. Carly offers to help her outside the group timings, and assures her that she can do it. When Jenny asks why Matthew suddenly decided to join the choir, he insists some of his favorite people are there. He wants to catch up with her and asks her to meet him at the orchard. Carly spots George sitting alone and gets him some mint tea with honey for his voice. She knows he doesn't like socializing with the group, but feels that if he stayed back after rehearsals, he might enjoy a lot of things. She still wants to know why he joined the choir, and he tells her about his wife who passed away last year. She used to sing with the choir and had a terrible voice, but she loved Christmas and caroling. They were together for 53 years and went caroling every year till their feet got sore. But she always wanted to go to one more house since she wanted to spread the Christmas cheer everywhere. When he sings with the choir now, it helps him feel closer to her. At Orchard Restaurant, Matthew is devastated to learn that his favorite Barclays drugstore closed 6 months ago. Their peppermint egg creams were his favorite, and Susan has managed to get the recipe. As Matthew doesn't cook, he knows he won't be too good at replicating it. Jenny shares that it's her last month at her mother's shop since she applied to Dobson, Virginia University, and got into their MBA program. Her parents are proud, but Susan is disappointed since she wanted Jenny to take over the shop. Matthew feels like she can still take it over with her business degree, but Jenny wants to explore the world and see what's there for her outside their little town. She thinks Matthew will understand since he traveled, but coming back home has always been important to him. He reaches the record shop after lunch and finds Carly again, who wants his opinion on which one she should buy. She had a tradition with her mother of going to a record shop in town and finding a holiday album they have never heard before so they can listen to it while decorating the tree. They used to swap records like Secret Santa, and Carly was never scared about taking the risk of buying an unknown album, since she hasn't heard a Christmas song she hasn't liked yet. Matthew's favorite tradition was always the peppermint egg creams, but he's sad about the place closing down. He knows she's helping Riley practice her solo, and thanks her for encouraging her. Carly knows solos can be intimidating and wants to help in any way. He decides to follow a new tradition this time and agrees to do a record swap with her. She asks him to trust her choice and they start finding records for each other. Once the swap is complete, Carly asks him to not look till he reaches home. While Diane is baking, he cracks up at the record Carly chose for him, since it's the same one they made fun of at the shop. Diane apologizes for their record being broken, but he's still happy with the gift. Carly opens her record and realizes that she loves the music. She even gets an idea and starts working on something. For her next rehearsal, she discusses the meaning behind the lyrics of the song and wants them to feel the emotions behind it. She asks them to close their eyes and think about the happiest time in their lives. She wants them to share that feeling with the world, and when they start singing with those emotions, she knows they're ready for something better. Susan comes over to give Carly her ticket to the Christmas dance that night. She has also picked out some of Jenny's dresses for her. She's in a hurry since she has to make a lot of Christmas candles, and asks Carly for her help. In her studio, Susan teaches her how to make the perfect candle with all the right ingredients. She started making them a few years ago and they feel meditative to her now. Jenny comes looking for Susan and is surprised to see Carly there, since she usually doesn't let anyone in her studio. But Susan is on the clock and asks Jenny to help them too. At the dance, Matthew greets all the locals and goes to smell the candles. Carly is happy to take partial credit for them, and shares how she's loving this new small-town Christmas life. Alice steals her from him to ask about what's good for her vocals. Carly remembers what Susan mentioned about the Christmas dance being her first date with John. but he reminds her of their meeting in the library. Carly thinks romance can be found in the smallest things, and she's very excited when George comes over to ask her for a dance. Matthew remembers their junior prom while he's dancing with Jenny. She gets distracted when she thinks she has spotted Ben Hubbard, who is supposed to drop by that night. Matthew asks if there's something going on between them, but Jenny is not sure since he travels a lot for work, but still visits all the time. He asks her to meet Ben while he attends to some other people. After the dance, Matthew spots Carly looking at the stars. She loves the clean air and everything about the town. Carly feels a little worried about the choir, since Christmas Eve is only a few days away, and she wants it to be very special. The Shepherds have done a lot for her, and she also learned from Alice that since the chapel didn't have the money to hire her, John is paying her from his pocket. She knows she'll miss the town a lot when she leaves and asks Matthew if he believes in fate. She feels very lost after her mom, and the idea of fate gives her hope. Matthew is up late looking at his childhood pictures and drinking eggnog when his mom joins him. He feels strange because he had a dream of coming home and buying the farmhouse on Maple, but with Jenny leaving, everything feels different. Diane thinks it's important to let go of some dreams so new ones can take their place. As John gives Susan a check, she thanks him for doing this for her. For their next lesson, Carly wants them to go caroling. As they sing for people from door to door and entertain an eager crowd, they feel very happy, and George wants to go to one more house like his wife did. Matthew seems very happy about how Carly has managed to make George open up more. She's giving Riley a special lesson at home for her solo, and thinks her voice is beautiful. Riley still has doubts since she doesn't want to let people down. Carly remembers what her mom told her about making great music, and how you need to have joy in your heart. She shares the story of usually carrying her favorite pick everywhere, which has joy written on it, since it was a gift for her mom. She feels like she has lost it forever, but assures Riley that if she loves to sing, she'll be able to manage this easily. Matthew comes to check on how much time their lesson will take, since Diane wants to get started on making the wreaths. Riley wants Carly to join them, but she doesn't feel like imposing. Matthew thinks if she doesn't have a wreath outside her door, she needs to stay. As Diane and Riley tell Carly about the ribbons and bows, Matthew thinks Carly's wreath looks too lopsided. When she happily banters with him about the wreath, Riley and Diane notice a vibe between them. When they come to the topic of the Christmas Eve party, Diane officially invites Carly. Matthew helps Carly with the wreath in her house and wonders why he has never heard her sing. She remembers she needs an unbiased opinion on something, and informs him about an arrangement she wants the choir to sing. He thinks it might be a bit late to add another song, but she knows it would mean a lot to her. She shows him the record he gifted her, whose first track is Time for Me to Come Home, which just spoke to her, and she wants them to try it. When she starts singing, Matthew is mesmerized by her voice and thinks it's beautiful. He knows they need to add this song, but when she asks why he chose it for her, he doesn't have a proper answer. She assumes it's because some things just have a way of finding their way to the person who's looking for them. She announces that she's adding a song to their program, but notices that Tyler is missing. After the rehearsal, Carly and Matthew decide to head to Tyler's house to check on him. She asks about his favorite peppermint egg creams, but he hasn't had time to make them yet. They run into Tyler holding firewood, and he apologizes for missing the rehearsal. Since it snowed last night, he wanted to make sure the driveway was cleared for his mother. They offer to help him, and Tyler shares how hard his mom is working with the extra shifts. He wants to pitch in, especially since his dad, who serves in the Marines, won't be joining them for Christmas. Matthew knows his dad would be very proud of him stepping up like this and offers to help in any way. Tyler doesn't have many decorations, so Carly calls in reinforcements. Alice turns up with her burst of amazing energy with items everyone from the choir has shared. She teaches Carly and Tyler about pommenders and asks them to place cloves and oranges to make the whole house smell great. While trying to help Matthew, she discusses how Carly is one of a kind and has made their world a lot brighter. When Tyler and Alice are working on the decorations, Carly brings up the topic of fate and thinks there's a lot of Christmas magic happening. She thinks if Tyler hadn't missed rehearsal, they would not have known he needs help. Matthew is reheating his mom's soup as Carly wraps some presents, and they discuss how sad it is that Tyler won't get to spend Christmas with his father. Carly is happy they could help, and everyone chipped in. Matthew reminds her that everyone in the town wants to help if someone asks for it. At the rehearsal this time, the choir sounds amazing, and even John gets some inspiration for his sermon. For their last rehearsal, Carly wants a photo of them, but they ask her to join too. She's very proud of them and wants to celebrate with a special event at the orchard. Matthew is curious about it, but she asks him to be patient. Carly has arranged for them to prepare Mr. Barkley's famous peppermint egg creams, which are also Matthew's favorite. He's as thrilled as everyone else to try and make them from scratch. Jenny thanks Carly for helping the choir so much and offers her condolences, since she heard about her mom from John. Carly doesn't remember telling him about her, but feels Jenny is lucky to have him. She shares that her own father passed away years ago, but she was never a part of his life and even ignored a letter he wrote to her when she was 18. She mentions that he even got her name wrong, since she took her mother's maiden name, Bridges, while her father's was Fernie. Something about that name disturbs Jenny, and she asks if her father had any family. Carly doesn't know any details about him. Since her mom gave her such a good life, she's the only family she ever needed. Matthew is admiring the pic and discusses how nervous he was on his way back home when he found this and felt confident. Riley instantly recognizes it as the one Carly lost, since she mentioned it to her, and knows it's very special to her. Diane loves this coincidence and thinks it's amazing Matthew has been holding on to it for weeks. Jenny meets Susan at the shop and they discuss how amazing Carly is. She still feels like it's weird they invited Carly specially from Philadelphia, and knows her mother is hiding something. Carly lights a candle at the church for her mom and shares with John that she has been missing her a lot. He thinks if her mom was anything like her, he would have loved her. She feels very lost since her mom was the only person she turned to for everything. Now that she's not there, she doesn't know how to live her life without her. John thinks her mother has given her a beautiful gift of music which she's using to inspire people. He claims they are alike in the way they want to touch people's hearts. At Diane's Christmas Eve dinner, Alice asks Carly to say a few words. Carly thanks them all for their hard work and thinks her last few days have been very special because of them. She used to think this would be her first Christmas without her family, but looks at Matthew when she claims she was wrong, since she has found a family in all of them. Matthew is looking at the stars when Jenny finds him and they discuss their childhood days. She's happy that he's back and confesses that when she dropped him off many years ago at the bus station, she had planned to kiss him. She was going to tell him she had a crush on him but never did it, because she didn't want to ruin their friendship. She wonders if he had the same regrets, and he confesses that he also thought about the possibility of them being together. But he has realized now that they are exactly where they should be. As they mutually agree to be just friends for life, Carly spots them chatting and feels like something is going on between them. Riley knows she has seen them too and understands what's upsetting her. As Carly tries to leave the party early, Matthew finds her and gives her the pic. He's excited to let her know they were on the same bus and he has held on to it for weeks. He thinks the right person found it and even compliments her about her speech. But something feels very off about Carly, who seems depressed and mentions she'll miss everyone when she leaves. She doesn't want to stay longer because she feels her work there is over. When he questions if something is wrong, she claims to just be tired. Carly brings a gift for John the next morning, and he's eager to hang this latest photo of the choir on his wall. She watches Susan's first choir photo again, but notices that her maiden name was Fernie. She confronts Susan about it when she enters, and Susan finally confesses that Carly's father was her brother. Carly feels shocked and doesn't understand why they never said anything. Susan reveals that she didn't want her to be alone for the holidays after she heard about her mother passing away. All this seems too much for Carly, so she steps out and bursts out crying. But when she looks at her mother's pic, things make more sense to her. John and Susan feel very ashamed and keep apologizing to her for hiding this information. Carly would have liked to know about it sooner, but doesn't regret coming there, and is excited about having Susan as her aunt. As Matthew struggles with his tie, Riley thinks there's an emergency in his life. She knows Carly has decided to leave after she saw Jenny and him on the porch. Riley wants him to go after the life he wants and knows he can give Carly a reason to stay. On Christmas Eve, Carly is waiting at the chapel when Matthew joins her and clarifies that he's only friends with Jenny. She thinks he's very kind and nice, but what she means is that she likes him too. He's very happy to hear that and notices her mother's snow globe, which has the best seat in the house. He thinks she has family in that town, and she knows it's also technically true now. Pastor John gives a moving sermon about kindness and community, and wants everyone to gift each other their time in the moments they spend with their loved ones. He calls the choir to the stage, and Carly asks them to sing for each other. Led by Riley's beautiful solo, the choir gives an amazing performance all members of the community are proud of. John already wants to expand this program and wonders if Carly would consider staying in town and continue working as the choir director. She steps out for a minute and thanks her mother for making things work out for her. Matthew joins her and shares that he has been wondering about his choices recently. He realized that he doesn't regret anything. He's very moved by Carly's kindness and generosity and thinks she has made this place feel a lot more like home. He doesn't have any regrets because every choice has led him to her. At midnight when the bells ring, they finally kiss each other on Christmas.